Ashna, you've practiced before family courts in Delhi.
Yes,
कैसा
sir.
लगता है लोगों का घर तोड़वा के? She is divorced and proud.
Very proud.
Their husband was having an incestuous relationship with someone in the family. The entire family knew about it, and they still got them married.
And maximum time मैंने उनको ये देखा है वो WhatsApp chats के कहते print outs ही पढ़ रहे होते हैं. And then like, wives, please go ahead and party as much as you want. That's totally fine.
जाइए और party कीजिए.
Please कीजिए.
Before 1955, a Hindu male could have n number of wives
Yeah, exactly.
and n number of mistresses.
Yeah.
भाई 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 लग गई पकड़ा गया पीते हुए मान भाई 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 लग गई गर्लफ्रेंड ने लिव इन से दिया निकाल सरकारी कानून ढुल्लों की मार लॉयर की फी और टैक्स से हलाल करा देना मामला adjourned.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Adjourned. This is Anshul Chaudhary at the Better Call Shul. Today, the topic we're going to discuss is divorce. Ek Prem Katha. We have a panel of digajj over here. We have with us Ashna. Ashna is a practicing lawyer, as we told before. Ashna has an experience practicing before the family courts, and she still practices over there. Welcome to the show, Ashna.
Thank you, Anshul. Thank you for having me again.
You're very welcome. We have with us Tanmay. Tanmay is a professional poker player, and he's also the son of divorces.
The son of divorces. Wow, a legal document gave me both.
By the way, Tanmay is also the executive producer of the show. Welcome to the show, Tanmay.
So I was looking for a safe space to cry. So I thought that a podcast that I'm only executively producing will be a nice space, safe space to cry about it.
You're very welcome to the show.
Cheers.
And finally, we have with us Niharika. Niharika is a practicing lawyer. Her expertise is commercial litigation. And Niharika has also recently gone through a divorce.
Yes.
And she is divorced and proud.
Very proud.
Welcome to the show, Niharika.
Thank you.
Before I start with the show, thank you so much, both of you, because it's a very sensitive topic. जो लोगों जिसके बारे में लोग actually बात करने से थोड़ा सा हिचक जाते हैं, because there's a stigma around it, और घर टूटना या शादी टूटना has never been looked at as something good. But जो भी इससे बाहर आया है has always said कि that was the best decision of my life. So Ashna, you've practiced before family courts in Delhi.
Yes,
कैसा
sir.
लगता है लोगों का घर तोड़वा के?
Well, that is
You bastard.
just completely inappropriate, if I may add. But कभी-कभी अच्छा लगता है because there are certain marriages which are just not meant to be, and it is essential that those people understand that and that they go their separate ways. However, there is always one person, there's always one spouse who is not up for it. That is the reason such cases are sometimes contested. And if both of the spouses are up for a divorce, then they just go for a mutual consent divorce, which is, I think, the most sought after, and that is what should be done. Because when you talk about divorces, there is a dilemma even for the judge, you know. I will explain.
Because दिल से लग रहा होता है कि यार he's breaking a family unit.
You know, it's for example, I think it's too quick to give you an
Jump
example.
into that, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so there's this case I was dealing with. This was before the Delhi High Court. And it was the case of a child custody. So whenever there are divorces, I mean, of course, there are children, and then comes the question of child custody. Now, in one such matter, now what is happening is that up till the age of 6, the custody of the child legally goes to the mother as per the Hindu Marriage Act.
Compulsorily. Like it's always the case.
Compulsorily.
Even if she
yes.
can't sustain him.
I mean,
or
of
her.
course.
Okay. I'm sure there is room for exceptions.
Yes,
I'm sure
there are room for exceptions. However, mostly, and as per law, up till the age of 6, the custody of the child, it goes to the mother. Now, what is happening is because of COVID, when the father gets certain mandatory, custody, say meetings, right? Now, the mother is denying those meetings with the child
To build
of
pressure.
the father under the pretext of COVID, because of which for the last year and a half, for the last 2 years, the child is not allowed to meet the father. Now that the father is putting in petitions before the court saying कि भाई इसको आपने जो order pass किया है उसको please लागू करो, मेरे बच्चे को मुझसे मिलने दो. Now the court is in a complete dilemma कि माँ की बात सुने कि भाई बच्चे को हम बाहर नहीं निकलने दे सकते because of COVID, कि बाप की बात सुने कि यार मेरे बच्चे को मुझसे एक बार तो मिलने दो.
I agree, and ये काफ़ी होता है. In fact, very recently I witnessed where this child was staying with the mother for the longest time, a toddler only. And when the father met him in court that time, he wanted to just hug him. And the child was like, "Nahi, I don't want to do that." And then the father, in order to express his sweetness, he offered a chocolate. And he refused that as well. And the judge was also very confused कि बच्चे को हो क्या गया है. तो he asked him, and somebody from the court assisted the child in telling कि वो क्या कर रहे हैं. तो child said कि मेरे को जहर दे रहे हैं. And I was like, that was the level of
mistrust.
the understanding that the child had gone through within that short span.
Children are tutored. Children are sometimes, I'll not say they're always tutored, but children are tutored by one of the parents, usually in custody, or that parent's relatives, saying कि ये तुम्हारा भला नहीं करेगा. So this is called alienation of the child, which
Plus
is
for बच्चे हैं यार, like how much it depends on what you're telling them, and you know how it's a small child, they'll take whatever comes their way.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
And talking with just my experience, it's usually not the parents, it's relatives that by extension end up polluting the mind of the kid a lot of times. At least that was the case with me and a lot of friends that I have had from divorced families, because I think like attracts like. I've somehow had a lot of friends from divorced or separated families somehow, and the mother and father themselves are so confused while they're going through the divorce that they're not even sure, they don't even have a set plan that how are they going to change and manipulate the mind of the kid. They're not thinking that methodically. The relatives by themselves take out their frustration and that manifests in the kids in
Absolutely.
a lot of ways.
I think वो institution of marriage correct me Ashna if I'm wrong, but marriage is looked at from two angles. One is looked at a very sacred institution, and the other one is that it is a contractual agreement between two people. And so far as India there is a confusion amongst everyone, because personal laws essentially guide how a divorce is supposed to go through and how a marriage is also supposed to happen. So what essentially means divorce, and when you decide that now I want to divorce, just tell me a bit about, I think the operative word is the irretrievable breakdown of marriage in the case of mutual consent. और बाकी grounds होते हैं, तो what are the things for which I can get a divorce?
Okay. So when you talk about divorce, it is basically annulment of marriage. भाई जब आपकी marriage हो गई तो आप उसको compulsorily register कराते हो under the Hindu Marriage Act, right? And also I'm only concentrating on the Hindu Marriage Act, but also there is Special Marriage Act, you know. Let me start with the very basics. जैसे Hindu Marriage Act है, which I think is a loophole here. Hindu Marriage Act है, उसको अगर हमको register कराना है, Hindu Marriage Act में आपको registration certificate 3 से 4 दिन में मिल जाएगा. But if you want to go for registration of marriage under Special Marriage Act, it will take you a minimum of 30 days. So you have to wait for 30 days before you will actually receive a marriage certificate.
ये तो system है. मतलब गाजियाबाद जाओ तो 1 घंटे में सब certificate मिल जाता है.
वो तो फिर बड़ा कुछ हो जाता है.
I would like to pitch in here. I did get married under the Special Marriage Act. It does take a month.
It does take a month.
30 days. You have to give a notice to the world at large that listen, so and so is getting married to so and so. Therefore, if anybody has any objections, please come forward.
You got it done from Delhi?
Noida.
My guy is like, आप भेज दो, आधे घंटे में करवा के खत्म करूँगा, अगले दिन न्यूज़पेपर में इश्तेहार आ जाता है.
No, but for newspaper में इश्तेहार 1 महीने पहले आना होता है. So either I don't know how you'll manage a backdated इश्तेहार, but if you can, sure, go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Jila Ghaziabad. That's what's happening.
So institution of marriage खत्म हो जाता है, दिल टूट जाते हैं. There can be reasons like.
Yeah, so I completely skipped the question you asked me. You asked me कि जो आपका divorce है वो किन तरीकों से हो सकता है और उसको आप कोर्ट में कैसे file करेंगे, right? So divorce can happen on 2 grounds. There is मतलब मैं मोटा बता रही हूँ, ठीक है? So it is by mutual consent, wherein both the spouses have an understanding that okay, there has been an irretrievable breakdown of marriage because of whatever reasons, and for these reasons we are now ending our marriage, and it is the simplest and the most sought after by advocates because it is the easiest for them.
So what are the things that we need to settle at the time of applying for mutual consent? Like there are aspects ki पैसा होगा, बच्चा होगा, तो what are these broad aspects जिनका हमें ध्यान
First we should start with Stridhan. So Stridhan is are the articles which a woman gets at the time of her marriage, and also there is exchange of a lot of gold. Say there could be a car.
जो white की dowry होती है basically.
Dowry often said to be Stridhan.
So see, now dowry is not dowry.
Right.
कोई ऐसे list नहीं देता जैसे पहले देता था. Everybody is scared and everybody is like, oh हमें तो आपकी बेटी चाहिए.
I swear to God, I recently visited a marriage and उसमें they gave an entire list of the things that they want, and the detailing was shirt के button इस company के चाहिए, and this is like not like कि मैं जुग्गी में जा रहा था कि somebody who was not well read and he was still continuing with the customs, but a very well read family doing all of this.
Listen, I think when we talk about literacy and लोगों का जो background है, it does not matter. People may be coming from the most poshest societies. They may be class 1 officers. But when it comes to a marriage, and they will be, and if it's a guy's family, बंदा चाहे जैसा भी हो, बंदी की इंटेंशन कुछ भी हो, बट जो पेरेंट्स होते हैं या फिर जो पेरेंट्स के पीछे लोग होते हैं, there will definitely be somebody in that line of relatives who will have aspirations कि भाई बेटा है यार हमारा, मतलब हीरा है हमारा, आप कैसे, मतलब how can you not give us something, at least कुछ तो करो, कुछ तो like something to do.
घर का सोफा, microwave oven, fridge.
Building up on that, one of the biggest reasons why my mother could not muster the strength to ask for a divorce is because so much money was spent in terms of Lena, Dena and wedding that she thought that her brother and her mother would collapse when she said that it's not working out this quickly. And that's why she just resisted the urge to, even though she knew from the very beginning that it doesn't look like it'll go through.
Well,
so
it's a major deciding factor for a lot of people, because now my experience aside, but I've been in touch with a lot of girls in the last 1 year who've either had this dilemma or they're still
like
making
attracts like I said, somehow just
mastering the courage.
Yeah, or they're thinking about it, they're in that process, they can see कि मतलब कोई scene नहीं है. या फिर I have a couple of friends who are in marriages which are just like, if you get up every day and you have a heavy head कि भाई ये क्या आज का दिन start हो गया, so that's not the kind of life you want to live. But when they think about, okay, what are my pros and cons, can I walk out, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, if I walk out, I need all of those things, man. My dad spent this much, my mom spent this much. It's very hard to at that time, and उस समय ना ये समझ नहीं, उस समय लगता नहीं है कि you don't really look at material things. You feel like this is I'm damaging myself, by being a divorcee in this society as a woman. But the general perception is कि हाँ लड़कों की तो हो जाएगी दोबारा शादी.
So there's a lot of risk planning that doesn't happen, which should happen.
No, यार कोई शादी इसलिए नहीं करता कि this is going to break down.
But that's the last thing they're thinking of when
yeah, nobody.
शादी के नाम पे एक तरफ डीजे पे दिल ले गई कुड़ी गुजरात नहीं बज रहा तो वो डिस्कस करोगे.
इंडिया में तो ज़्यादा होता है
ना, हाय हाय ऐसी बातें मत करो. हाय.
So I think the concept of a prenup in India, in our society right now, is मतलब नहीं हो सकता यार. मतलब you are trying to build a home together. How are you at that point of time analyzing risk? Yes, that's a smart thing to do. That's what you should do. But नहीं करते लोग. I mean, हो सकता है arranged marriages में where both the families come from a very fancy heavy background, वो हो सकता है. But love marriages में to think बोल के देखो भाई prenup चाहिए.
I think prenup should be legalized in India.
I think they should be made mandatory for it to be applicable, and they should be there.
Yeah, I mean, in terms, just one, Ashna, just so risk planning and prenups, I understand prenups are still not having the force of law.
Yes.
But what are the broad aspects, again, like back to the question, which we should be considering at the time of getting into marriage or at the time of finalizing अपना divorce? क्या चीज़ें होती हैं जो देखनी होती है?
Okay, first of all, you must, in case See, whenever like Niharika said, if you're getting into a marriage, you do not get into it with the idea
That you get out of
okay, there is going to be a breakdown and I am going to enter into a divorce. But at the time of marriage, if you are giving certain items to the other party, it will be better if you retain the bills.
Yeah.
All right. So
Right.
so
For sure.
prepare for the worst is what I can advise as a family court lawyer.
And what do you say about maintenance, custody, and alimony?
Right.
Ye-
So basically, maintenance and alimony are two sides to the same coin. Which maintenance is usually on a monthly basis, and it is given on the basis of a formula for the spouse who earns a lot to the spouse who is not earning or who cannot maintain the same lifestyle as that person could during the subsistence of marriage. अब जैसे
And even after it, no.
नॉट आफ्टर मैं तेरे को एग्जांपल देती हूँ. जैसे मेरी शादी हुई, ठीक है, मेरी शादी एक बंदे के साथ हुई. आई एम लिविंग इन अ 2 BHK एंड आई हैव अ सर्टन लाइफ स्टाइल, ऑलराइट, एंड दिस मैन इज अर्निंग मोर देन मी. आफ्टर द डिवोर्स, द कोर्ट इज गोइंग टू सी दैट since I am earning much lesser than that person and I cannot maintain my lifestyle as my lifestyle was during the subsistence of marriage, तो मुझे एक पर्टिकुलर फॉर्मूला है 1/3 ऑफ दिस पर्सन सैलरी आफ्टर द डिडक्टिबल्स, तो वो मुझे मंथली बेसिस पे मिलेगा इन ऑर्डर टू मेंटेन द सेम लाइफ स्टाइल दैट आई हैड even after divorce, even though I have had children. The only exception wherein I cannot get maintenance is adultery. It comes under section 125 clause 8 of CRPC, but I guess that is that. I don't think our audience is going to understand that. But
talking about that, like the US, the split of the property is not 50-50 in India. It's about just maintaining the same standard of living.
हाँ,
Yeah.
बेसिकली जो ज़्यादा कमा रहा है वो कम कमाने वाले को या बिल्कुल ना कमाने वाले को अपना सिमिलर लाइफस्टाइल देता है. दैट्स मेंटेनेंस.
Just similar lifestyle,
Yes.
not security.
The concept of alimony is कि जब शादी खत्म हो रही है तो either there is a one time settlement or there is an
Yeah.
agreement कि
Yeah.
ये पेमेंट होता रहेगा so that the lifestyle is maintained, and then there will be an important aspect of custody कि बच्चों के बीच में custody क्या रहेगी.
And in the
alimony is a one time settlement.
Yeah.
Maintenance is per month आपको इतना पैसा मिला according to this particular formula
matrimonial
that the
household.
judiciary has come up with, right?
Yeah.
Now coming to custody, अब बच्चे हैं तो obviously custody भी होगी. अब जो तुम्हारे बच्चे हैं out of that marriage, they will have their rights in the ancestral property. Also the custody usually goes to the female, right? Also up till the age of 6, it is prescribed under the Hindu Marriage Act that the custody will go to the mother, right? However, there have been certain cases wherein the mother has been declared unfit to care for the child, and hence the custody goes to the father. But then again, there is this weird game that is going on between both of the
चलता रहता है,
parents.
वो खत्म ही नहीं होता है.
तो
But that brings
मतलब
me.
कौन बच्चे के कान ज्यादा भरेगा,
हाँ.
ये गेम चल रहा है वहाँ पे.
That's a very common scenario. Like what usually happens is निहारिका पति घर पे लेट आ रहा है, बात नहीं कर रहा है, then मैं बाहर भी जा रही हूँ, कमा भी रही हूँ, घर भी बना रही हूँ. I am giving my soul, heart, time, blood, everything to maintain a house, my relationship, but it's certainly not working out.
Right.
What do I do?
As an individual, you reach out to the people that you have, you reach out to the people who you can trust, and you need to be honest with yourself, because उस समय सबसे the hardest part is at that time to understand that this is not good for you, because as a wife you never want to make your husband or your partner look like like the worst possible person out there in front of anyone, and that takes time. Personally मेरे को बहुत time लगा था for me to open up to anyone honestly, truthfully, that okay, this happened to me, this happened to me, and this happened to me. And they were very close friends of mine. They heard me, and then they were like, dude, I had no idea you were going through that. And I realized myself at that time, on that night, that I didn't know myself.
So there was a particular moment when this realization came to you, or was it?
Yeah, so like Ashna pointed out कि जब divorce का process चल रहा होता है, one of the spouse is opposing it. I was a victim of domestic violence at that point of time.
Oh.
And I was still the person who did not want it to end. And my ex was very clear कि I want things to come to an end, and there were multiple communications where, you know, he would communicate to me that, okay, let's make it work. And I had this thing on my head for, I think, at least a few months after I got separated, that I have to make it work. How can I let my marriage fall apart? And that marriage was after 10 years of a relationship.
But at what point do you actually come to the conclusion in your head that there is an irretrievable breakdown and it's not going back? Like, certainly it's not the first instance that happens and you walk out. Like, Thappad ki movie ki tarah nahi hai that the moment it happens, you're ready to step out.
No, see, again, the movie Thappad, when I went through what I went through, a lot of people, some people, उस समय तो ज़्यादा लोगों से I was not in touch. You know, they told me, listen, watch that movie. वो movie देखोगे तो तुम्हें पता चलेगा एक थप्पड़ के बाद, you know, like she suddenly had that realization that you can't do this. It's not worth it. There were multiple instances, and the last instance was just too much. It was brutal, and I had a difficult time, you know, like processing it and looking at myself in the mirror that that's me. How did I go from that to this? But uske baad bhi, it took me a long time. It took me about 4 months to accept that no, this is not the life that I want, that there is a better life beyond this, because of the stigma. Because I didn't want to be a divorced woman. मेरे को लगता था भाई divorce हो जाएगा तो लोग क्या कहेंगे? मतलब the whole problem.
The stigma was certainly troubling you more than the actual reality
itself. लोग क्या
कहेंगे?
The whole thing about लोग क्या कहेंगे was like.
लोगों का काम है कहना न्यारे का.
Yeah, but in that moment ना उस समय नहीं समझ आता.
But all the more power to you. I think that's great that you have actually come out and now that you accept that whatever is happening.
So I get Niharika was like torn between you know, wanting to save her marriage because of the love she had for the past 10 years and the relationship she had and the newly found instance of cruelty that she was going through.
I felt that, you
so
know, like,
it's difficult. It's not that easy to just take or, you know, to just like pinpoint an instance कि हाँ जी तब हुआ था. ऐसे नहीं हो
सकता. Like for me there were multiple realizations. First was when, you know, I told my friends that okay, all of this has happened. Second time I think I went on a solo trip and I decided to do something and I went ahead with that. Were
you like during the period of separation at that time?
Yeah,
solo trip? Okay.
We were separated, no talking, nothing. There were lots of things happening at the back of my head. There were lots of things happening on my family front with my extended family. And उन सब के बीच में I went for a trip and I went for a dive, so it was like ज़िंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा. And after that dive I felt like, dude, if I would have been with that guy here, I would have never done this. This is just me. So that was the point when I realized that life can go on without a partner that was toxic to me. You know, like there's no need कि इसको चलाने की ज़रूरत है, इसको निभाने की ज़रूरत है, आगे बढ़ते हैं.
So while I'm hearing you, I'm thinking, I don't know you well, but I'm so proud of you and the generation and the time, how forward it's come. Of course, there are a lot of problems in the society still. There's a lot of judgment, a lot of tagging on people. But if you talk about the previous generation, if they had to take divorce, like she said that it took me some time and she quoted 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. At that time, took them some time meant 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Because majority of the women weren't even empowered.
Yeah, उसके बीच में, you know, you have kids and financial independence is something which is so important.
Exactly.
Initially, I didn't know, like at the time of separation or whatever, but at the time when I got married, I was making more than my ex. So I never had any issues with financial
and that's a very traumatic issue to go through with, especially when you have kids. And my mother had that throughout the childhood. That
even, you know, like some of the girls I've spoken to, they either left their job because they were getting married and now they are jobless. And within few months of their marriage, उनको पता चला कि भाई, someone I know actually had their husband was having an incestuous relationship with someone in the family. The entire family knew about it, and they still got them married. The entire guy's family knew about it.
जिंदगी एक गेम बन जाती है पूरी proper उस time पे.
मतलब क्या होता है लोगों के साथ when you so every month.
ये तो Game of Thrones है.
नहीं मैं game से actually reference डालना
I'm not sure if that's the best way to put it. It becomes a game.
Game से sorry game खेल लेते हैं.
So that was your segue into the game. Wow. You should choose your sports better.
This was planned, guys.
I like the joke.
So we have with Niharika and Tanmay, we're going to play a small game. It's called Quick Pro Co.
Now you're going to play game with us after life has played games with us.
Definitely.
Kitne games, guys?
Yeah.
We are all ready for games. Bring it on. You're experienced.
It's a rapid fire round. Whosoever answers first gets the chance to answer.
Okay.
And the most interesting answers from anybody cumulatively make the ranking, and then like I decide.
Oh, we're against each other. Okay, let's do this.
So are you like this is like coffee with Karan rapid fire kind of feel?
You can consider it fastest finger first or like anything.
Okay, cool.
But rapid fire concept hai.
Okay.
these are the buzzers in front of you.
I've been wondering for a long time, what's the salt and pepper doing here?
Quick Pro Code.
7 questions. Please treat them as funnily as possible.
Bring it on.
Which state of India has the highest divorce rate?
Guys, you know it.
UP. It's an educated guess.
No, that's
Wow, I missed that.
that's not a good guess. The answer is Mizoram. UP surprisingly has one of the lower sides on the
वहाँ
divorce
पे
rate.
करने नहीं देते ना.
Because yeah.
You told me to be funny.
Second question: what are the grounds of divorce for an albatross?
घोंसला बहुत दूर बना दिया.
No, it's
My partner can't fly anymore.
it's climate change surprisingly.
How?
जैसे जैसे गर्मी हो जाती है, breeding कम हो जाती है, and that has led to an increase in divorce rate in specifically black-browed albatrosses in the world.
And how is this related to the topic of the podcast that time?
We'll come back to that. Question number 3. Hrithik Roshan paid how much alimony to Suzanne Khan?
Arjun Rampal.
भाई वो तो दहेज था.
एक सेट
You gotta give it to me now. I think that was a
एक
great
डेफेमेशन
answer.
सूट से बचते हुए रिपोर्टेडली 380 करोड़ दिया था.
And what about
Question
Arjun
number 4. Can demanding too much sex be a ground for divorce?
Yes.
Rampal? I hope not.
Yeah, I've read a judgment.
How much sex is too much sex?
I hope I never find out.
Well, I don't think there's a benchmark for that.
Well, an average human being has sex 68.75 times a year
That's sad.
in a marriage.
That is.
Yeah. That is too low.
Question.
I guess none of us are average.
None of us are married.
Which English king created a religion just to give himself a divorce?
You know this one?
King Henry.
Nice. How do you reduce the divorce rate of the country?
Stop
get
getting them
married.
married. Did you say that as well?
Last question. What is the full form of UCC?
Universal Civil Code.
Sorry.
I was going with that. Yeah. UCC.
Uniform Civil Code.
Uniform Civil Code.
Oh, that's what I meant, man. I thought you get me.
जान दे.
So I guess Tanmay, you win it because of Arjun Rampal. So
My man.
टाई नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
हाँ?
टाई नहीं हुआ था.
नहीं थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा
Okay,
अच्छा
fine.
है.
So I'm supposed to give myself a gift?
Executive producer आप decide कर लेना.
इसलिए मिला उसको.
Production please suggest whatever the gifts are. That brings us to the second segment. What is happening, Ashna, is आज के टाइम पे I want to get a divorce. I'm fed up in a marriage. I go to a lawyer. The lawyer throws not the solution of divorce but everything at me कि DV डाल दे, maintenance डाल दे, CRPC का, HMA का maintenance डाल दे, फिर तू एक काम कर, तू एक FIR कर दे. तो मल्टीप्लिसिटी ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग्स होती हैं. लोग क्या चाहते हैं कि मतलब दूसरे की ज़िंदगी बर्बाद करना चाहते हैं या एक्चुअली रेजोल्यूशन चाहते हैं?
तो आराम से पहले बात मान लो ना, ये सब नहीं करना है तो.
That is true. That is true. See, like I said right in the beginning of this in this segment, that one of the spouses is usually opposing it, right? One of the spouses, for whatever reason, good or bad, is opposing the marriage because it could be because of their financial condition. It could be because that person has a child to care about and the other person just does not care about the child. It could be because of certain financials. It could be because of the family. It could be because of
All of them
physical
combined.
trauma, or all of them combined.
I agree personally.
A
Right.
flip question to you guys. Lawyers, like when you must have seen a lot of divorces, a lot of separations happening in front of you. Lawyers and judges, are they able to feel it? Are the emotions still intact, or have they become very thick-skinned to it because they see it every day? Like you
The
see
latter.
doctors in the ET.
I wouldn't say
Yeah,
I
the
wouldn't
latter.
no I wouldn't say it's thick-skinned, but
Maybe I used the wrong word.
there is
but
a degree of objectivity that a judge
decency.
is supposed to have when judging anything, any aspect of a marriage. For example, अगर maintenance decide कर रहा है तो he won't be looking at क्या कहते हैं just the emotional part of it, but he'll be looking at the income affidavit. Maintenance के टाइम पे आप दोनों पार्टीज को income
दिल में
affidavit
दर्द
डालना
होता है
पड़ता
जज के
I guess
is what I was
I'm
asking.
sure as a
It
human
really-
being होता है, but as a judge, it's very important for
It
him to ensure
depends.
the objectivity.
You are completely correct. However, it
That's how it's
depends
supposed
from
to be.
person to person
Yeah.
because I have seen judges जैसे जब भी child custody का केस होगा तो वो बैठ जाएंगे judges बच्चे को लेके गोद में, ठीक है, because I have literally seen certain judges do that in order to make the child feel comfortable or to make or to really understand what the child is going through without that gaze or stare by either of the parents who might be tutoring the child.
और फिर in-camera
वो उसको
proceedings हो
अलग से-
जाते हैं उसके लिए तो।
वो अलग से उसको गोद में बिठाएगा, उसको बोलेगा हाँ जी बेटा ये लो टॉफी ले लो, अच्छा बताओ ये अच्छे लगते हैं कि वो अच्छे लगते हैं, ऐसे ऐसे करके. So there is a degree of objectivity, but there are judges who are really committed and really emotional to it, to this particular cause. So what you're asking is I cannot answer that because that really depends upon the nature of a person,
Right.
and hence that judge or that.
But let's stop
advocate.
being diplomatic for a minute and what you see as observation in general. Do people
see-
नहीं
desensitize?
तन्मय
See,
होता पता है
I
क्या
do
है?
not.
नहीं होता ये है कि मान लो अगर औरत है और डिवोर्स लेना चाह रही है, लॉयर के पास जा रही है, तो लॉयर भी लाइक अब एक काम कर, तू बस कहानी एक पेपर पे लिख के मेरे को पूरी दे दे, मैं इसकी 5-6 अलग अलग कंप्लेंट बनाऊंगा, जितना प्रेशर डालना होगा डाल देंगे, एंड में म्यूचुअल कंसेंट से मिलेगा. क्योंकि इंडिया में सीन बॉस ये है, आपको अगर डिवोर्स चाहिए है तो म्यूचुअल कंसेंट से ले लो, उससे पहले जो कहानियाँ करनी है वो सारी DV एक्ट, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस बना लो, डाउरी बना लो.
These are all
जितनी
pressure
क्या-
tactics.
The
Mostly.
tactics will work to build pressure, but they will never ever work to get you a divorce. क्योंकि objective क्या है? A justified, the objective of the court is एक justified judgment rather than to judge कि अच्छा ये settlement हो गया, अब क्या कहते हैं इस बीवी को क्या कहते हैं 10 लाख रुपए मिलेंगे and divorce done. Like that's not how things are supposed to do.
Thinking about this practically, guys, if a wife and a husband are fighting before the court for say 3 to 4 years, and even if one of them is opposing the divorce,
You're wasting
Isn't
at
it
the end,
irretrievable
it
already?
is irretrievable already. So
Yeah.
after 4 to 5 years, what are they fighting over? They are fighting over alimony. They are fighting over maintenance. जितनी भी
And
इनकी-
custody, I guess.
Custody
And custody, but then
and
custody
FIRs
is
and
another
quashing and I don't
My-
know, revision petitions,
So if I can
appeals.
speak from my experience, and when I say my experience, Mera and everybody, all the other girls that I've spoken to, I'm answering your question. Judges wala, I think Ashna has
right.
covered it. So as far as lawyers are concerned, it is true that as a lawyer, somebody is not able to extend the same amount of sensitivity as you are experiencing as a client. आप चाहते हो, and me being a lawyer, I knew कि courts कितने slow चलते हैं. मुझे पता था कि this is going to be a time-taking process. It's going to be painful, and I was doing the same thing, creating pressure to get what I want, how I want it. Because by that point of time, I was pissed off that शांति से मैंने सब करने की कोशिश करी, नहीं हो रहा है. और ये सबके साथ होता है. Literally, I've spoken to probably 15 गर्ल्स एंड ये सबके साथ होता है. प्यार से बात करने की सब कोशिश करते हैं, एंड उस टाइम तक इतना मिसट्रस्ट हो जाता है ना दैट they can't sit with each other, you know. The other person's always thinking, oh, I'm being probably surveyed, or you know, I'm being surveillanced, or you know, somebody is looking at me or recording this. So it does. I was fortunate that way, touch wood, that I had somebody who was a very close family friend, so he had my best interest in mind while we were going through everything. But I see people suffering only because अब they are expecting a certain level of sensitivity from the lawyer, और वो नहीं आ सकती. It's
For
what
sensitivity
they're-
छोड़ो, मतलब the lawyers also end up like having their self interest की जितने cases
Yes.
उतनी fees. Supreme Court ने recently disposed of a matrimonial dispute, and they disposed of close to 67 matters. मतलब 67 matters between 2 people,
Okay.
and
That is
that was just about a matrimonial dispute. तो बोला भाई mediate करो, खत्म करो, like please, like just
Listening to all of this, why didn't I hear all of this before? My mother was a pathetic negotiator. Where were these lawyers at that time? Maybe we could have gotten some more money. Barely got some.
You know, because उस time पे trauma इतना होता है ना, and trauma से ज़्यादा stigma, because so the law is on our side as women. You know, we can file things. Domestic Violence Act में victim is always a woman, it's not a man. That's what a lot of people are very unhappy about कि ऐसा क्यों होता है. But then the thing is कि जब ये सब कुछ होता है ना, जो दूसरी साइड के पास जो डिफेंस होता है is, you know, name calling. slut shaming the woman,
Right.
calling her crazy, telling, reaching out to the whole world. So that is what was happening to me. That
के दिमाग खराब हो गया इसका.
हाँ, exactly. Things like this. So when stuff like this is outside and it's in your society amongst your peers, when you know कि सब लोगों को ये सब कुछ बोला जा रहा है, and सबके साथ होता है यार,
Right.
because you were in the same society at one point of time, and in my case it was such that my father and my ex's father were from the same services, so सिर्फ मेरी society नहीं थी, मेरे पापा is still serving, and even in his services in the state, there are officers who've sat down and they've talked about it कि oh
Of
yeah,
course.
that girl's crazy, like
Oh my God.
उसको यही लेके जाता था डॉक्टर के पास and this and that, and
और देखो उसी के against क्या क्या कर दिया.
yeah, and it was very hard for my parents, and after a point they were like, beta, just let freaking go of this. Why do you want to fight? I mean, तुम देख नहीं रही हो, तुम कीचड़ उछाल रही हो, तो
निहारिका मतलब आई एम नॉट belittling योर एक्सपीरियंस बट बात एक डेफिनेट लिमिटेड बात होती है बट एवरी पार्टी हु गेट्स एसोसिएटेड इन द चेन एंड्स अप मेकिंग अ बतंगड़ आउट ऑफ इट.
yeah, because egos आ जाते हैं ना एक point के बाद, till a point your patience, there's a point to everything, and once you cross that line, and for me when I crossed that line and I realized कि अब I don't want it to be peaceful anymore. Now I will get out of it how I want to get out of it, come what may. So there were definitely a few times when my parents, they got like really sick of it, and they're like, you don't know what's happening, because the idea is that ये है तो लड़की ना, इसको रहना तो इसी समाज में है, भी करो जितना बदनाम कर सकते हो, फिर से करनी है इसको शादी, देखते हैं किससे बात करेंगे, क्या बोलेंगे वो. So I was headstrong at that point. I was like, मैं कुछ नहीं कर रही. I will.
And that is needed. And
Yeah, that is needed,
Niharika.
and a lot of people are not able to do that because they don't have the kind of support. They still feel कि क्योंकि ये चीज़ें affect करती हैं, to think कि because sometimes people approach you to get to know about it. You're traumatized, so you want to share, and you share thinking that okay, maybe I'm getting support. कई लोगों से कई जगह से मिलता है, but कई जगह it's people just want gossip, right? And then when that comes back to you, you feel like oh shit. So
Yeah, every time a high-profile divorce case comes into the office,
Insatiable curiosity, not
Yeah.
concern. That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we wait for income. No, as lawyers, every time a divorce case comes into the office, like we get excited if there's like an income affidavit coming, like because like personal details share hongi. Then the allegations, WhatsApp chats, WhatsApp chats. Like I remember seeing lawyers go through their divorce files and everything. एंड मैक्सिमम टाइम मैंने उनको ये देखा है वो व्हाट्सएप चैट्स के कहते प्रिंट आउट्स ही पढ़ रहे होते हैं एंड देन लाइक
I mean, like trying to put the whole thing into proper chronology कि अच्छा नहीं
ये
ऐसा
हुआ
होता
था,
नहीं
फिर ये
इसने
हुआ
पहले
था।
ये बोला था देखो उसने
एंड अब तो लाइक बिकॉज वी आर बिकमिंग टेक enabled and everything तो everything gets corroborated with like let's say wife was saying कि ये मेरा पति इस दिन मेरे को बदतमीजी कर रहा था तो पति विल सिंपली कम अच्छा ओके लुक एट माय एप्पल वॉच मैं तो क्या कहते हैं कंट्री से बाहर था गोल्फ खेल रहा था
फिर बीवी बोलेगी भाई मेरे पास तो वीडियो है इसकी
so
तो ये वहाँ भी क्या कर रहा
the
था
conclusion is कि family law is probably interesting for the lawyers as harrowing it is for the party.
Wow, this sounds like वो magician secrets revealed होता है ना. This sounds like an episode of Lawyers Secrets Revealed. They're busy gossiping at our expense.
सही बात है एक्चुअली एक तरफ तलाक हो रहा होता है और दूसरी तरफ
Popcorn चल रहा
Bills
दिमाग में
चल रहे
ऑब्जेक्टिव चल रहा होता है दिमाग में मजाक होता है which brings us to our next game तलाक या मजाक.
okay.
So
I think those two are synonyms.
नहीं
एक ही चीज.
नहीं तलाक is a life lesson.
Don't do that. हाँ, तो तलाक या मजाक I'm gonna throw instances at you and you're supposed to tell me कि whether it's talaq or mazak.
Do we need the buzzer for this?
No, we don't need the buzzer. I'll question each one of you एक एक करके and yeah. So the first one is for you Tanmay.
Okay.
मेरी बीवी किया से बाहर नहीं निकल रही है बस हफ्ते में 3 दिन जाए जा रही है रात को 2 बजे आ रही है क्या मेरी सुनवाई होगी मुझे मिलेगा तलाक या फिर मेरा उड़ेगा मजाक.
उड़ेगा तेरा मजाक जाके थोड़ा सा किया में तू भी ग्राइंड कर ले यार चिल कर ले थोड़ा सा टेक अ ब्रीथर मैन.
That's right. A man wanted to step out of a marriage in Mumbai and his wife's habit of partying too much was cited as the reason that he wanted a divorce. First he did get the divorce but the Bombay High Court
Oh wow,
said that
first he got it.
at first like before the family court or the trial court
What the
whichever
fuck?
adjudicating it he got the divorce and the High Court then said that he's not entitled.
It
So
was, not, it
wives
was a
go ahead-
contested divorce.
Huh?
It was a contested, not mutual consent.
It was a contested divorce.
Let me guess, the wife was from GD Goenka.
नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. But wives, please go ahead and party as much as you want. That's totally fine.
जाइए और पार्टी कीजिए.
Please कीजिए.
निहारिका, the second one's for you.
Yeah.
मेरी बीवी के चेहरे पे बहुत कील मुहासे हैं. मैं हाथ नहीं लगा पाता हूँ. फोड़े फट जाते हैं.
Oh my God, that's disgusting, man.
क्या मेरे को मिलेगा तलाक या
ये
फिर
बीवी नहीं कह सकती है.
नहीं, बीवी भी कह सकती है, but
Is this a valid ground for divorce? Yes.
if it
Is this a valid ground for divorce or not? Yeah.
it is. Okay, that's right. So what?
To each their own.
मतलब I would never expect कि मैं अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड या अपनी बीवी को कभी बोलूंगा तेरे चेहरे पे तो यार कितने फोड़े हैं. मैं डर्मेटोलॉजिस्ट के पास लेके चला जाऊंगा ना. मतलब इतना लाख रुपए खर्च करके.
देखो अगर इतनी प्रॉब्लम है तो इस बारे में पहले बात करनी चाहिए थी. डॉक्टर के पास पहले जाना चाहिए था.
A
शादी
man
के
was actually granted divorce on the ground that her wife had severe acne and he could not consummate the marriage. जब उसकी शादी हुई थी.
देखो हम बहुत पेट्रियार्कल सोसाइटी में रहते हैं. व्हाई डिड यू थिंक दैट ये मजाक होगा और ये तलाक नहीं होगा?
बहुत स्टूपिड सी चीज है. अगर दाने हैं तो यार मुंह साफ
तुम्हारे
करके
लिए stupid है ना.
डर्मेटोलॉजिस्ट के
मिला
पास
ना
ले जाओ.
डिवोर्स.
एक्स पार्टी था.
स्टिल
या
एक्स पार्ट एक्सप्लेन तो कर दो ऑडियंस को क्या होता है.
एक्स पार्टी होता है जब आपका क्या कहते हैं जो ऑपोजिट साइड है जिसके खिलाफ आप लड़ रहे हो वो कोर्ट में नहीं आता एंड द कोर्ट गिव्स हिम एन अपॉर्चुनिटी. एक दो बार बोलता है कि आ जाओ, नोटिस देता है, बट वो नहीं आता. तो कोर्ट से ठीक है अब आपकी डिफेंस ख़त्म कर दिया जाएगा एंड अब आप जो हमें क्या कहते हैं वर्जन मिला है कहानी का, we'll just proceed on that behalf.
On the
And
basis of the evidence and the statements
Yep.
that we have, we're
Judgment
just going
pass
to
हो जाएगी.
proceed with the judgment,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Absolutely.
The other party is not present. Basically, there's just one party who is
एक पार्टी, एक साइड, क्या कहते हैं कोर्ट की सुनवाई, कहानी खत्म, मामला आगे, जीवन में आगे जाओ, खुश रहो. That's called speedy justice.
Yeah.
Ex parte जाओ. That's a gross misstatement, please.
प्लीज ऐसे मत करना. 9:30 लग जाएगी.
Hope so.
So, तन्मय मेरी बीवी क्या कहते हैं स्कर्ट पहन के ऑफिस जाती है.
तौबा.
तो खुद समझ यार, मतलब बोल दे कि तलाक है या मजाक है यार.
बिल्कुल तलाक है. Why do you have it as a question also?
No, I think-
Of course not. मजाक.
मैं ऐसी सोच रख रहा हूँ ना तो मेरे को लगता है बीवी को मेरे को तलाक सीरियसली देना चाहिए कि नहीं यार.
Hashtag boycott Anshul.
I think I'm already being boycotted right now. The fourth instance.
एक तो क्वेश्चन पूछ लो जिसमें बीवी को तलाक चाहिए.
हाँ. मेरे पति, no, sorry, the husband has a big penis. Is it a ground for divorce?
It should not be, but मिल गया होगा divorce.
If it is big enough to not consummate,
Yeah.
then it is a
Then
ground
it's
for
not for
divorce,
divorce,
which is
yeah.
what we have learned from the acne example.
No. Acne definitely, but I don't understand. Cruelty में आएगा या मतलब
By consummation.
Consummation हो नहीं सकता ढंग से. Conjugal rights.
Section 13.
okay.
And consummate नहीं होगी तो annul भी हो सकती है. Divorce तक जाने की जरूरत नहीं है.
I don't understand.
Exactly.
Consummate नहीं हो सकती मतलब.
So there are Ashna is the better person to respond to this, but there are two ways of coming to for a marriage to come to an end: annulment and divorce. Annulment के दो conditions होते हैं. एक तो यही होता है that within the first year of marriage it has not been consummated, और दूसरा मुझे याद नहीं है क्या है.
मुझे भी नहीं याद.
Fraud, misrepresentation.
हाँ. Yeah, that consent has been obtained of one of the partners by fraud, and if that happens and petition allow हो जाती है, then the marriage is annulled. And an annulled marriage is like the slate is wiped clean. It's like it never happened. You're not a
अरे
divorcee.
मेरा सुनीता तो सुनील निकला.
And yeah, that's
That
a
was
valid.
also one of the.
It happened. It
Yeah.
happened.
cases,
Yeah.
But yeah, this is scary, man. With a great superpower, his great superpower became his biggest curse. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I'll tell you one more crazy instance. मेरी बीवी बदबू मार रही है, नहा नहीं रही है और अब नहीं हो पा रहा है. Is it a ground for divorce? क्या तलाक मिलेगा या फिर मजाक होगा?
Yeah, इतनी untidy हो गई तो mental insanity के आसपास होगी तो शायद मिल सकता है based on that.
Ashna, will that-
If it's factually correct, if that's how bad it is.
A man from Aligarh sought divorce on this ground that his wife does not take a bath daily, and the wife filed a complaint with the woman seeking to protect the marriage. And हुई लड़ाई आपस में बिल्कुल उन्होंने करा and they finally wanted to part ways. बच्चा भी था उनका. बच्चे का नहा रहा था नहीं नहा रहा था was not written anywhere clearly. बट फिर नहीं हुआ, मतलब काउंसलिंग मिली, बोला कि डिटॉल क्या कहते हैं रोज नहा लेना.
You're making me into a terrible human. You're making me laugh at these things, man.
सोच यार, मतलब लोग नहा नहीं रहे हैं, शादियां टूट रही हैं. मतलब शायद ही कोई 16 साल से लेके 22 साल में लड़का होगा जिसने रोज नहाया है कोविड लॉकडाउन में, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ देम वर जस्ट सिटिंग एट होम.
तभी आदमियों की उम्र 21 साल से अबव होती है शादी के लिए.
थैंक गॉड.
You need to mature a bit.
तो द
It's okay, you can ask me one of the questions that you have written.
हाँ, द हस्बैंड की साइड.
सोचने की जरूरत
माई
नहीं.
हस्बैंड लव्स मी टू मच. अब मेरी बात की सुनेगा, मतलब लड़ाई नहीं करता है, चुप रहता है, कुछ बोलो तो हंजी कर देता है. क्या
जोरू का गुलाब.
That is definitely talaq.
दैट इज डेफिनेटली तलाक.
Yeah, पर participate तो करो यार.
अच्छा, बट पार्टिसिपेट में फिर वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आ जाएगा.
अरे तो conflict के बिना क्या होता है लाइफ में?
सही बात है.
Why do you go so quiet after?
Because
every
it
time?
goes like there is this thing called like conflict हो जाता है, and then conflict, at what point the conflict becomes so big कि now like the
When you stop talking about it.
Yeah, when
we stop talking
about it, and that's why it should be a ground for divorce.
See, there's no
Because,
relationship
yeah.
जिसमें conflict नहीं होता. तो अगर conflict नहीं हो रहा है, there's something wrong.
You stop moving forward, right? If you're not discussing your conflicts, होता तो है ही.
well, certainly baffling.
No, only logical.
नहीं, it is because what happens is that when the relationship is happy, and I think correct me, I would want it, a lot of immaturity goes into a relationship or a shadi at the time of its inception, that it's all happy, there's all that dopamine rush, the serotonin going in your head making you feel good, because of which you don't understand that you also have to go through scenarios where it will be ugly, and the level to which that immaturity goes, that we never discuss about it or we never address it, becomes problematic in the future. The first instance when it becomes uncomfortable and one or either of the parties would want to step out. So I think
it's a very valid ground. I mean, there could be, there could be issues. What is happy? If one person is not happy and the other one is a yes man and they're like, okay, you want this, sure. So it's not a happy situation.
So I think
but how do you prove something like that in the court?
Yeah,
कि
you
भाई
can't.
ये तो
It's a
जो
very
होगा
personal
हमें तो हर
thing.
चीज में हाँ बोलते हैं.
Yeah.
How do you?
ये मेरी हर बात मानता है जज साहब.
Exactly.
बस
How
divorce
do
में
you-
नहीं मान रहा है.
How do you prove something like that in the court? The
I'm sure
other
it's a
party
very-
could always come around and say that no, we have had our conflicts, just not on
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट
on
तो हो रहा है ना,
WhatsApp.
जब वो कह रही है कि मुझे डिवोर्स दे दो तो वो नहीं मान रहा है ना, वो कह रहा है कि नहीं ये नहीं मानूंगा मैं.
See,
I'm
finally they
just
fixed them.
wondering
He
why
started
she-
fighting and not agreeing.
Why is she writing this as a ground कि ये कोई बात ही नहीं मानता? हो तो रही है conflict.
हाँ, ये
This
पार्ट
is a catch 22 to this situation.
बट
man.
अब मतलब मान लो पति को मूंग दाल की खिचड़ी पसंद है, बीवी को पता ही नहीं चल पा रहा है, वो बनाए जा रही है क्या कहते हैं गंदी
मसूर
से
की.
खिचड़ी, एंड द लेवल ऑफ डिस्कॉर्ड रीचेस टू द पॉइंट कि नाउ द वाइफ just doesn't talk about it anymore because she's confiding into her friends.
You have trapped yourself now. You made the question too sensational.
And now you're not going to move ahead.
No logical grounds to continue this argument.
I don't think
This is not a question but a monologue. Now it has turned into a monologue.
मैं फंसा
Anshul.
हुआ हूँ थोड़ा यार, थोड़ा तो sympathize करो.
मैं तेरे को खोल देता हूँ. Move करते हैं next segment पे. तेरी तरफ से justification नहीं चाहिए.
तो लास्ट इंस्टेंस तन्मय, मेरी बीवी पबजी खेले जा रही है और मैंने फ़ोन भी ले लिया उसका, मानने को ही तैयार नहीं है.
मम्मी हो क्या फोन ले लिया?
क्या मुझे मिलेगा चिकन डिनर या मिल जाएगा फाइनली तलाक?
I plead the fifth or fourth, whatever that is, man. I don't want to play this game anymore.
हिंदुस्तान में वापस आ जा दोस्त.
Depends on a lot of other circumstances around it. But yeah, any issue can be that grave that it could be ground of divorce if reasonable evidence is provided
ये तो
around it.
बहुत ही diplomatic answer है.
PUBG addiction, how extreme.
मैं ना लेती है आंसर.
अच्छा आप बताइए फिर क्या?
नहीं, you're like you're
हाँ,
balancing it out.
yes,
हाँ,
तलाक.
है ना?
मजाक नहीं तलाक. Is that better for you?
A husband was really what happened was a husband was really irritated with his wife's habit of playing PUBG 24/7 and
यार ये judgment भेजेगा it's gonna help some of my friends.
या ये जजमेंट मैं भी पढ़ना चाहूँगा.
जजमेंट आई नहीं है, सुन तो लो यार.
अरे
तो हस्बैंड ने कंप्लेंट करा तो वाइफ ने अल्टीमेटली विमेन सेल में प्रोटेक्शन मांगी कि मेरे को प्रोटेक्शन दो, आई वांट टू स्टे इन अ सेफ स्पेस एंड आई वांट माय फोन. सो द विमेन सेल वांट माय फोन. सो द विमेन सेल सेड कि ठीक है आ जाओ, पर यहाँ पे बाहर नहीं निकल पाओगे और फ़ोन नहीं देंगे क्योंकि ये प्रोटेक्शन के लिए है, तो यहाँ पे तमीज़ से रहना है. सो वाइफ नहीं यार पबजी तो खेलना ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. एंड लेटर उनकी काउंसलिंग हुई तो लाइक आई वाज
मैं फोन दे दूंगा तुम्हें, घर आ जाओ वापस.
नहीं द वाइफ काउंसलिंग में उसने बताया कि शी मेड अ फ्रेंड ऑन पबजी और फिर वहीं पे हेडशॉट चल रहे थे.
What type of headshots were going on there?
सब पता है तेरे को कौन सा headshot है.
I'm a bit confused.
So that includes तलाक या मजाक. Clearly everything is a मजाक.
I'm glad the segment is over.
India में scene is good in a way because now more and more couples are addressing the problems that are in the marriage, and divorce is taking center stage. Even at the time of marriage, people end up discussing it. And the trend that
I don't think so.
The trend that I could see from a couple of Google searches and reading a few articles was that prenup abhi tak doesn't have the force of law,
Yes.
but big industrialists and क्या कहते हैं very very wealthy families, they still have something of that sort.
If it's not enforceable, then what's the point of having it in place?
I agree. There is
Right.
absolutely no point in terms of considering it as something primary that's going to decide कि आपकी
But it
it
does
can
have
still
some
have
kind
a
of weightage.
collateral value,
in
right?
simple terms,
Collateral
Prenup
value
agreement?
होती
No.
अगर
It is
This is what
completely
was-
illegal. You cannot decide before marriage कि ये मेरा ये तेरा
It's a
जो
contingent
मेरा मेरा
contract.
नहीं, it's not a
So
contingent.
is it like a
con-
personal
Yeah, exactly,
pressure
it is.
tactic kind of
No.
thing?
So the thing is that Supreme Court, what they held was that marriage is a sacred institution, and putting a prenup in its place will reduce it down to the level of a
सुप्रीम
contract.
कोर्ट नहीं है, ये हमारी सोसाइटी, हमारा धर्म है.
हाँ, दो बार ट्राई हो गया मेरे घर पे.
so-
एक बार भी सीक्रेट तो नहीं दिखा मुझे कुछ भी वहाँ पे.
नहीं कुछ तो होगा यार, मतलब ऐसे भी मतलब बिलिटल नहीं कर देना है इंस्टीट्यूशन.
बाप कसम नहीं था.
Tana, your take on the institution of marriage is, I don't know whether it comes out of as a defense mechanism or you just look at it now that it's all random.
No, what is my take on marriage? Like, what take are we talking about?
When I say that it's a sacred institution, it's like clearly it's not, because that's what falls across the table.
It ought to be. It should be a sacred institute, but the society and how the mankind have gone ahead, it's been turned into a mockery because of unequal division of power, because of how marriages happen, how sentiments with the family are made along with it. I don't think it's anywhere close to sacred anymore. I wish it were. I really hope it would be. And it's supposed to be. It ought to be, but it's not.
And dialogue will only get there. But while you were
Hopefully-
being brought up and you were growing up, you had the stigma of a divorce over your parents.
Right.
Did it impact you in a way that it was negatively also affecting you every point of the way?
See, in retrospect, yeah, there were certain tendencies that I developed. In fact, a very interesting incident occurred with my therapist a little while back. We were doing a little bit of just closing my eyes and looking at past memories. And you know how there are certain memories which are very vivid, you remember very clearly, and often those are the memories that end up defining you. So we were talking about I have a habit of wanting to fix everything way too quickly. And like Mr. Know-It-All, like I'll get it done. Is that something that I used to do a lot? And we traced that to one of the memories that I had where my father was fighting with my mom and I was a little kid and I jumped onto him and I started punching him and saying, how dare you do this, or something like that. And I was a kid. Of course, I couldn't physically harm him or anything, but the response was that. And probably that's the day when I made an alter ego in my head, which was Mr. Fix-It-All. Like I had this pressure in my head that I have to go fend for the family because this is not sustainable and I have to fix it all. So probably that, but I also see that as it has positively also benefited with me a lot of ways. जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है कहते हैं क्यों, because it makes things easier. If I just find the good things that happened because of that in my life, I'll be a happier soul is what I think. So I think it made me a lot more independent, a lot mature, a lot quicker. Talking about as a kid, the stigma attached to it. Because there was no stigma, I felt very suffocated because we decided that we won't tell anyone that it's a divorced family. till a long time. Father was either working abroad or out of town. Only when I grew up, I decided now I'm going to make jokes of it and I'm going to talk about it very openly.
I'm very glad you did that. I'm very, very proud
Yeah,
of you.
but
That's
as
only
a-
your perspective, which
Right.
now can consider it that you are taking it very positively. That
Yeah, all thanks to my mom. She did not inculcate that toxicity. Me and my sister were not put through a lot of that back forth either by the relatives or the family, luckily. Marriage was bad, things were bad, finances were difficult to manage and stuff, but at least that toxicity wasn't a major part of it. I'm glad for that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
As somebody who's first-handedly experienced कि ये negative चीज़ें बहुत ज़्यादा तरीके से impact कर जाती
For
हैं.
sure.
And of course, the aggressor party is probably busy being aggressive, but the one being victimized is the one जिसको सारा बोझ संभालना पड़ता है.
Right.
Of repairing themselves, their status, their finances, and their relatives also. You have a message for anybody who's getting into a marriage or who's getting out of a marriage to consider कि boss ये सब चीज़ों का please ध्यान रखो as somebody who's gone through that.
My message would be, in a way, be a lot more intentional about it. I think a lot of people are just getting married and moving on with things and doing things because society expects them to,
yeah.
and there's a need to, and they're a particular age, and then they think so and so about themselves. Groups mein move nahi kar sakte because couple kitties or couples everywhere, whatever, and they get married because of that reason. This might sound like a problematic statement, and it is, but I think having kids should be a privilege. I don't mean it like as a law, but I hope that people saw it that way, that they very methodically, categorically think that, okay, we have these many finances, our understanding is of this level, this is how we'll grow up the kids, okay, we are entitled to have kids. Of course, we can't, as a totalitarian state, make that as a law, but if you
know,
could
because
educate people
At
to
a
do that.
point, बड़े लोग ये बोलते थे कि अच्छा तुम्हारी शादी में दिक्कत है, have a child.
Have a child.
It will
ये
fix a
लड़का
lot of
बहुत दूर
problems.
घूमता है, इसकी शादी करा
इसकी
दो.
शादी करा दो. और sadly it still happens, but ठीक है, अब हम I think if
It's better.
it's our
हाँ, वो
generation,
23
we
की
can
उम्र से
still
28
talk
की उम्र
about
हो गई है,
it.
इससे ज़्यादा क्या फ़र्क पड़ा है. अब 28 के बाद प्रेशर बिल्ड करना शुरू कर देते हैं कि अब उम्र हो गई है, हाँ भाई.
Right.
And like the
Also, up till now, for me, the idea of marriage has been very negative because of whatever I have
Your personal
experienced. But of
experiences.
lately, as I've grown up, I've maybe warmed up to that idea a little bit more. And I see it maybe, it's not necessary that if so many have failed, mine will also if I indulge in it. Because we are better than that. We have experience, we can read, we can make more intentional, purposeful decisions, learn from the mistakes. And it's not a good idea to shun away your thoughts from one thing based on certain things that happened in your life.
And
So
At least
Tanmay,
I'm trying
has
to grow
it,
above
has it, I'm sorry if I'm overstepping my bounds, but
Please do.
all right. But has this like this series of divorces affected your relationships?
My relationships.
Yeah, like your romantic relationships.
Of course, because they have been a result of sum total of what I have become. So diplomatically, or matlab just saying it, of course, it will. But outright, if I could attach something directly to it, I'm a lot more open in conversation, so it's in a good way only. I see it in a good way only. It has impacted me because I have first-hand witnessed how the institute starts crumbling. So in my relationships, or even casual dating, or even serious relationships, whatever, there's a certain protocol of behavior. If you keep the conversation open, a lot of clarity and a lot of future problems are averted. So I have to learn from it only.
That's
feel.
a-
It's
So I guess,
impacted me in a good
so
way.
I guess intention and communication,
Communication,
are
intention,
two
right.
things that you've really learned from it, and that I mean, you think if you can apply these to your relationships,
Right,
they
like
can-
even when
they
you're in
will
a
work.
long-term relationship, there are times when you're not feeling that much into it, or you're out of it, or things happen, and partners lie to each other because of insecurity or what that person will feel or the fear.
Yeah.
I have at least tried to be as communicative as possible. If I'm feeling out of it, I would make sure that I would communicate that.
That's
I've gotten a
brilliant.
lot of backlash because of that. I created unnecessary problems. Maybe I shouldn't have been so transparent, but I like it the way I am. I
That's
would
good.
rather be
Like
that.
you have a very good fighting spirit in order to protect the institution rather.
Yeah.
Whatever the institution is,
Yes.
whichever institution. For
Whichever
me,
institution, be it a
a
relationship.
dating or commitment could be more serious than a marriage, perhaps. It
But
doesn't-
what
a
about
certificate doesn't need to
let's
be
say
there to dictate
no
it.
Even I believe so.
Yeah.
Institutions are meant to be protected. That's why they came into the first place. But there is one institution which is very recently come up, or maybe was always there. It's a matter of debate: polyamory. We have sent a video on your Instagram I would like to watch that with
So
you.
these guys have
And
told me to hold this iPad throughout so that they can make me play this video that they have sent me. Finally, I can get rid of it from my lap. Thank you so much. I'll open it. Do I need to show it to everyone?
Yeah, just keep it over here and like let's watch it.
Yeah, the face recognition doesn't work when you need it to work. Yeah, here you go.
It's because you've cut your hair.
No, this is not the real. This one. Yeah.
So, the video has a take on relationships in life in terms of your one and only to your several and several of them. What are your takes on polyamory, and are human beings inherently monogamous, or the evolution into the concept of marriage now being identified? And the first time it happened was that it came into canon law. From there, the other religions adopted it, and now we are again at a point of time where the institution of polyamory is again taking the stage.
I don't think human beings are monogamous in nature. We made ourselves monogamous. We decided that हम ये institution create करेंगे and forever and ever वाली चीज़ हमने pop culture में हर चीज़ movie गाने poems हर चीज़ में डाल दिया that this is
The
how
biggest
it's going
problem
to
is
be.
pop culture with love and
Yeah,
violence and
Taylor,
relationships.
I mean nothing against Taylor Swift, but
Fucking
like
Shah Rukh Khan
Yeah.
with his arms.
So sad, like pop culture and monogamy are now being क्या कहते हैं, considered as a bane to live
No,
in.
let's face it. पहले भी you know people would cheat on their husbands and wife. Why don't you just talk about it, man? Why don't you just communicate with each other? What is it that you're okay with it, and what is it that you're not okay
You
with?
know, I actually have like a few takes on this. So for example, when we look at Muslims, they are legally allowed to have 4 wives, and in
Inshallah.
case inshallah. So and in case all 5 of them are like having sexual relationships with each other, I mean, I don't know how that goes, okay, but that could be considered polyamory, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Also,
It is,
so
it's just a sexist version of
so there
polyamory.
is-
It is polyamory.
yes.
Yeah.
So also there is Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. Before 1955, a Hindu male could have n number of wives
Yeah, exactly.
and n number of mistresses.
Yeah.
So was it allowed for women as well?
No, it wasn't.
wasn't.
वो सब
But-
under
But,
the under
but
the
there was
table होना
also
चाहिए.
a concept of
Yeah.
saheli. Get it?
Yeah.
Which means that 2 of the wives or maybe more could be, you know,
Yeah.
sexually
Kabhi
involved with
Sautan,
each
kabhi
other.
Saheli.
Yeah.
The clean
Yes.
Is that where the
Yeah.
line comes from?
Sali Adi
So-
Gharwali and
so
things
I
like
guess-
that, like the
So I guess
cliches.
polyamory has been
We've
in
just
place.
given it a term now. When we are talking about it, we're openly
Which is so much
accepting it.
better. Previously,
Yeah.
it was done with euphemisms like Sali Adi Gharwali, Saheli, or whatnot. Now, at least it's center stage and we are talking about
Yeah.
it.
No, but like.
You know, but when we talk about this, the question is, adultery is still a ground for divorce, and
Yes.
that comes in between. That if you allow polyamory relationships, how is it gonna work? Like किसी का एक बार mind हो गया कि oh shit, अब
नहीं,
मुझे
जिसके
now
साथ
I
शादी
wanna-
कर रखी है उसके अलावा किसी और के साथ करो ना.
So I have a very
Okay, so
interesting question.
It's still a ground for divorce, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what if you guys
That is
agreed that
adultery.
okay, this is your arrangement and this is how you're going to continue with your marriage, and one fine day, one person realizes that no, I've had enough, and you have all the proof, you have everything on you. So, for it to be properly accepted in the society, we'll have to change the law.
I guess I guess unintentionally Niharika has given a lot of people ideas about all of those people stuck in divorce battles.
my views on adultery and all of these things have been this way for a long time. और मैं कुत्तों से equate करती हूँ. कुत्ते इतने loyal होते हैं यार. अब just and but
But
when
they're
they're
not
on
loyal to the
heat,
bitches that they
yeah,
fuck.
even
They're not.
I'm even talking about the bitches. You know, I had a dog and that was my first girl dog, and when I saw her on heat, I felt like daughter of a very beautiful teenage girl, because वो ऐसे गेट पे बैठी होती थी, बाहर 50 कुत्ते होते थे, and she would be ready to jump on them, and I would feel that oh my god, what's happening? So
इतने बड़े हो गए बच्चे क्या हो गया?
6 महीने में इतनी बड़ी हो गई. But then the point is that maybe, you know, like love and sex are 2 separate things. You can separate that.
So,
And
right from there, can I ask you all 3 a very interesting question? So, it's a bit uncomfortable saying this on camera, but there's this porn show that I used to watch at times called Swing, the Swing House. The concept of that is there's a house filled
Swingers,
with
Playboy TV swingers.
You are a man of taste, I see. Great things to watch on a date, by the way.
Which episode are we talking about?
No, not talking about the episode, but maybe later after the show we'll just exchange notes. But talking about that show, the concept is there's a swing house of really open-minded people. It's not perverted in any way. They're very free-spirited, nice, and very consensually. They're swingers, and there's a red room in the house and all sorts of various things done in a very positive and nice way actually. And a new couple who's not an active swinger comes in and joins the house and spends a night over there. And the first day when they're joining the house, the host, who's also a psychologist, apparently maybe she's just a porn star they're calling a psychologist, I'm not sure, but sits down with them.
She's not a porn star.
Oh, she's a psychologist only.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
You have looked her up.
He has done his research properly.
Okay. Maybe that was my sexism coming in the way. I'm really sorry about that.
That's okay.
So they sign a contract that the rules of regular marriage, we both consensually agree, will not apply inside the swing house. And we are signing over here. Is this contract valid or a mazak in your terms? Like, does this have any holding, or is this a TV gimmick that
No,
I
in
saw
India
over
that
there?
is certainly not
has-
possible, and
yeah.
rather on one of those episodes only,
Yeah.
it happened like.
Wow, you've seen quite a bit of it, huh?
So what happened was that the husband couldn't get excited and he wasn't able to engage with the other women, while the wife.
You couldn't get it up. I saw that episode.
Yeah. And eventually that ended their marriage. Like they
Yeah.
ended their marriage. So you can understand like that contract is shosha.
But they entered the marriage because there was lack of understanding between each other.
No,
It wasn't
that
because she
is
cheated
Tanmay.
on
Tanmay.
One of the
That is-
one of the regulars on the show has said it very clearly. Ki enter the swing house after you think that your marriage is concrete.
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah, it's,
there is a single crack in your marriage and you're entering the swingers, you will be torn apart.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought about polyamory.
But it could also create that crack.
Yeah.
Have you ever
That's
thought
what he's
about
saying.
that?
Entering the swing house can
yes,
create that
because
crack.
actually there are a few people I know who are indulging in this, okay? And I mean, I have never understood it because I'm a very single track person. मतलब मेरे को नहीं समझ
One
में
man
आता है.
woman.
मेरे को नहीं- at least at one time.
He's talking like you're looking down on the institution of monogamy.
No, I mean,
I'm-
I'm just saying that I have certain preferences and other people have certain preferences and I'm okay with both, you know.
चलो
I
यार
just-
खुश
I
रहो
just-
जो समझ आ रहा है.
जो करना है
I
करो,
think that brings us to a very good conclusion.
No, wait.
No. Okay.
but- you just stop cutting people.
Lawyers के बीच में दरार.
All right, so these people I know, so how they term it is that there is a primary, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So there is a primary, and then the primary might have girlfriends or boyfriends, and the other
The
spouse
secondaries.
who's the other primary will have other secondaries.
Right.
Like Tanmay said. So both of these people were very sure about this. However, now that the guy has a secondary and he's falling in love with her, and his primary can now see that. I mean, it's not like it's happening for the first time. This is happening like maybe for the 8th time that he's sort of falling in love with the secondary, and then the primary has to come in and she has to say that, you know, this is not cool. So now the primary, she's gotten tired of it. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this relationship has come down to. So initially they had a solid relationship and both of them were up for it. But I guess this practice, this weird relationships that they have has actually caused a breakdown in their marriage.
But
playing
you know,
the
there's
devil's
a
advocate over
flip
here.
side to it as
Yeah.
well. So you're talking about an arrangement जहाँ पे primary secondary relationship simultaneously चल रही है. But I was sort of coming from the point that two people have a rock solid relationship. Let's say one of them or both of them are somewhere in a different city, different scenario, and they chance upon someone, they lose control and they end up having sex with. One of them ends up having sex with some random dude or someone, and when they come back and when this person shares it with their partner, that relationship breaks down. But so here what I'm talking about is this urge that one
Exactly.
partner had. Is it a ground to break a relationship which is rock solid?
And also talking about it.
not
marriages.
like a full-fledged simultaneous parallel relationship, but जैसे मैं बोल रही थी ना कि adultery is a ground for divorce. So it is, you know, a standalone incident like this can be a ground for divorce. But what I feel is that people should see that you can't always equate love and sex with each other in every single circle. Here, in what you're talking about, this person is falling in love with someone else. So that's the reason.
Also
it's not
repeatedly.
Repeatedly.
So there is
the
यहाँ पे
reason is that
communication
if they
नहीं
weren't
है.
open, they might have still broken up because that person would have fallen in love with someone else. If they've fallen in love, it's not necessarily because of sex. What I believe is people
Yes,
keep breaking
yes.
up or getting divorces for various reasons. Reason can be found anywhere. It's not. There are a lot of benefits also that theoretically come with an open relationship. Of course, given societal conditioning, it could be very difficult to manage it, even if you believe in that idea, because these insecurities will definitely pour over.
You know, Tanmay, at this point, maybe I can understand something like there are 4 people, okay, and 4 of them are in a relationship
Together.
and they together, and they owe equally to one another. Maybe I can understand something like that. But if I have a partner and he's going out and doing things and I'm going out and I'm doing things with other people, I also have a relationship with.
So that's different. So मैं जो कुत्तों का example दे रही थी वो ये था that, you know, when they're in the heat, they're probably a bitch is going to have sex with probably 50 dogs,
Right.
and then when the heat period ends, she's going to probably bark at them. Or, you know, let's say 4 dogs are living in a family, the son will probably want to do it with his mom because it's just instinct. It's just instinct taking over you. So I'm just talking
There are
about the
different
stand.
things, exactly.
And falling in love is different. Falling in love is going to be very different from, you know, something like this happening, or जो कि मतलब ऐसे one off chance या फिर it just something else took over.
Also, on the flip side, imagine the amount of power or liberation you would feel that you have so much security in a relationship that these things
Is
do
not going to break you.
down
Yeah.
or do not scare you. Imagine the
have
newfound
the
love for life,
understanding.
trust in human beings,
But that-
bonding that you have found through that.
But for that, the most important thing I think for any relationship, any marriage, any institution will be there should be a dialogue.
oh, of course.
Yes, this is going to only be successful if there is
If there
communication.
is a lot of dialogue, like as much as possible, as detailed as possible.
Every open relationship is different from the other.
No, I'm talking
Some
about-
have primary, some are just allowed one night stands, some are allowed relationships, some are allowed proper
You know, let's
relationships.
say nothing is
This-
allowed. Let's say it's a monogamous relationship, and then an incident like this happened. उसके बाद भी तुम communicate करके, you know, you can understand if you are of this thought process that okay, this was not out of love, this was out of something else, and you can carry on with your relationship, and you know, you can go forward, work on whatever that you think you need to work on, and move ahead.
Yeah. I think that concludes the topic of divorce.
Are you happy now?
I am sort of.
Are you happy, Ashna? Can he conclude?
Always.
That safely concludes divorce ek prem katha.
Safely.
And the conclusion is that guys go out, talk and discuss foundational things about how you want to proceed. And India में अगर divorce लेना है तो think it through. At the time of getting into a relationship, discuss these things and talk about what's going to happen when things turn ugly. And so far as कानून concerned है तो वकील के पास जाओ, 50 केस अपनी तरफ से फाइल करो, प्रेशराइज करो, एंड में म्यूचुअल कंसेंट लेके ही डाइवोर्स मिलेगा. वरना अपना जीवन बर्बाद करोगे, उसका जीवन बर्बाद करोगे, अपने बच्चे का जीवन बर्बाद करोगे, अपने माँ बाप का जीवन बर्बाद करोगे, जैसे हम टाइम बर्बाद कर रहे हैं अभी. तो दैट प्रीटी मच कंक्लूड्स इट. डायलॉग करो एंड या.
And guys, remember, always keep all the bills of your Stridhan.
But I just want to say one last thing before we conclude, that if you're thinking of getting a divorce, it's going to be ugly, but it's just going to be ugly for some time. It's going to get really nice after that very soon. So stay at it.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Niharika, for coming in, sharing your
Thank you for having me.
perspective on this.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you so much, Tanmay, for opening up about the experiences.
Always
that
happy
you
to
have
talk,
done
man.
that. And Ashna, as always, for giving us the help as a lawyer.
Thank you.
That concludes another episode of Adjourned, not Better Call Saul. Sorry.
Still debating the name, are we?
My head certainly. That concludes another episode of Adjourned. Take care. Have a good day. Cheers.
करा देना मामला adjourned.